I swear my intention was simply to escape, to silence my broken heart, to find some air after the shame of that damned broken engagement with Harold. My mother, always with a ready solution, suggested I spend a few days at the family's old ranch, far from the city, among the green hills and the sweet smell of wet fields. The main house was empty, as it always is when no one in the family is staying, but the small cottage in the back had been meticulously prepared. Clean sheets, a full lamp, fresh water in the wash basin. Everything was in order, everything except my chest, which remained a mess. That's when I heard heavy footsteps outside. The sound echoed on the packed earth floor, as if each step dragged the world along with it. I went to the window and saw him. Standing under the shade of a tree, the muscles of his bare torso glistened in the sunday. His worn linen pants revealed long, strong legs. A shackle bound his ankles, with long chains that jingled with every movement. It was Benaiah, the estate slave. I vaguely remembered him from childhood, still a boy, tasked with carrying water. But what I saw there was no longer a boy. He was a man, in full vigor, with a body sculpted by hard work and the silent eyes of someone who'd seen more than he should. He looked up and saw me. He simply nodded. He said nothing. He didn't need to. His gaze pierced my skin, my simple dress, my recent pain, and found something I hadn't even known was still alive. "I brought the key to the cottage," he said in a deep voice, like muffled thunder. "It was already unlocked," I replied, trying to sound casual. He didn't react. He just looked as if he already knew and turned his back. But before disappearing around the corner, he threw over his shoulder, "If you need me, I'll listen to everything, miss." That sentence reverberated in my chest for the rest of the afternoon, listening to everything, even my quietest sighs, my dirtiest thoughts, my silent desires. It made me uneasy. The shower was long. The warm water fell on me like invisible hands. My fingers ran over my damp skin, remembering his gaze. I wrapped myself in a short towel, the kind we only use when we're alone. But then, something compelled me to leave. I opened the cottage door slowly. My hair was still dripping wet. My skin was hot and prickly, and he was there, leaning against the porch railing, as if he'd been carved there. His eyes didn't waver. They slid down my neck, lingered on the neckline of the towel, and slid down my bare legs. I wanted to run away, but I also wanted to stay. I clutched the towel to my chest in a futile attempt to hide what was already all too visible. "I'm sorry," I murmured, unsure if it was actually regret I felt. "There's nothing to apologize for," he replied, his voice lower than the wind. "You're home." The way he said that, it was an invitation or a warning. I went back inside, but my body remained outside. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling, feeling my little flower throb. The heat wasn't from the summer, it was from within, a flame that was lit just by that look. That night, I made tea and wrapped myself in a blanket on the porch. He passed by with a bucket of tools and simply said, "Good night." But his deep voice pierced me. I responded with a smile that even I didn't understand. The sun came back even stronger the next day. I chose a light dress, the kind you only wear when you want to provoke. A discreet neckline, thin fabric. When I went to close the zipper in the back, it stuck. I pulled, forced, nothing. And guess who was watering the plants nearby? Yes, him. I walked out, holding the zipper, my eyes on the ground, my courage in my feet. I feigned normalcy, as if it were just a simple request. "Benaiah, can you help me here?" He put down the hose, wiped his hands on his pants, and came over to me. His fingers didn't touch right away. He turned my waist slowly. He pulled the zipper down carefully, but he stopped, right there, where your skin pricks and your breath catches. "Here," he murmured. "Right there," I replied, my voice a feverish whisper. But he didn't pull it all the way. His cool fingers against my warm back made me shiver. He noticed. He stayed. That silence, that bated breath. When it finally closed, I turned slowly. His eyes burned, red with the sundae and with desire. "Thank you," I murmured. He just nodded and went back to the garden. I had to sit down. The little flower ached. It vibrated like a tight secret. The next morning, I wore the same outfit, but with nothing underneath. Just a tease. I bent down to pick up the sugar, just as he walked through the door. I knew it was there. And I let him see it. "Do you need something?" he asked, his voice even deeper. I stood up slowly, hair loose, eyes soft. "Just to sweeten the day," I whispered with a half smile. He said nothing, but he sighed, and my body responded. That afternoon, I paced around the house, feigning distraction, but it was all to watch him pass by, his wet shirt pressed against his chest, his gaze always watchful, always hungry. And when the sun set, the silence broke. I stood on the stairs, wine glass in hand, my light dress clinging to my warm body. That's when it all truly began. "So, my little flower, did you feel the heat? If you got as goosebumps as I did, then you already know. Like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe to the channel. We still have a lot of steam, desire, and secrets ahead, and in the next chapter, the flame will be fully ignited. I'll see you there. Don't disappear." The amber light of dusk filtered through the windows of the mansion, tinging everything golden. The gentle breeze danced with the lace curtains, lifting the fabric with an almost innocent malice. Outside, the sound of the woodcart's wheels creaked on the gravel floor. He passed slowly, shoulders bare beneath his open vest, carrying a bundle of wood on his strong shoulder. He stopped. He looked at me with that calm that hides fire. "You look beautiful," he said, as if announcing a storm. I smiled. "Really beautiful?" I teased, letting the taste of the provocation show. He walked a few more steps and stopped again. "Too beautiful for such a lonely place." I sighed. "It doesn't seem so lonely now." He stared at me for what seemed like a moment longer than it actually was. When he turned to go, he tossed over his shoulder. "Careful, Donna Clara. Those who stoke the fire too much sometimes get burned along with it." The little flower trembled instantly. I tried to fake a laugh, look away, turn the moment into a game. But it wasn't a game anymore, and deep down, I knew what was about to happen had already begun. Night fell with the smell of wet earth and the distant sound of crickets weaving through the silence. The mansion was asleep, or almost. I woke up in the middle of the night, thirsty. I walked barefoot to the kitchen. The cold floor under my feet contrasted with the heat I felt inside. And there he was, alone, facing the open window, drinking water straight from the bottle. Shirtless, his broad body covered in sweat from the day's work, his eyes distant. When he saw me, he smiled. "Did I wake you?" "It was thirst," I replied, but I wasn't sure. "Sometimes it's more than that," he said, without taking his eyes off me. I stopped in the doorway. The breeze slowly came in through the window. My nightgown clung to my skin. His heat seemed to penetrate the space between us. "Are you hot?" he asked, his gaze fixed on my chest. "Very hot. Is it going to rain, or is it going to catch fire?" He laughed, but it wasn't light. It was desire disguised as a short sentence. "Do you need help with anything?" he murmured, moving closer. "Not yet." "Then I'm going back to my room. Are you really going?" He stopped. He was less than a step away. His breath touched my face. "If you don't want to, I will." "And if I do?" He moved closer. His fingers brushed my waist, light, ardent. Say it then. With your mouth? With your body, I whispered, almost voiceless. I closed my eyes. The little flower pulsed, but not yet. The game needed silence, the almost, the maybe. I pulled away with a slow smile. Good night. He took a deep breath, a half smile on his lips. He walked down the hallway, but before disappearing, he turned around. That was the last time I let you play with me. I stood there, still, with the glass in my hand and my heart in my throat. I knew that next time it wouldn't be a joke anymore. It wasn't anymore. The next night, the heat was unbearable. No wind, no relief. The house seemed suspended in time. I stayed in the cottage, lying in bed, wearing only a thin nightgown. My skin clung to the sheets, and the little flower throbbed. I tried to pretend it was just another desire, but it was him, always him. His broad shoulders, his sun-streaked skin, the smell of earth and sweat, his piercing gaze. I got up, my bare feet on the cold floor, my body aflame. The nightgown clung to my bare chest. I went down to the porch. There he was, sitting on the stone steps, his shirt open, an unlit cigarette in his fingers. He's breathing heavy. When he saw me, he said nothing. He just looked at me. And in that look, there was everything. I descended the stairs slowly, each step a shiver. I stopped in front of him. I want to stop pretending, I said. He stood up calmly. We stood face to face. The scent of his skin enveloped me. Are you sure? I'm past the point of doubt. He pulled me by the waist. The little flower burst from the mere touch. I trembled all over. His mouth found mine, a hot, deep, wet kiss. His hands ran up my back, down my thighs. He picked me up, as if I weighed nothing. He carried me to the bedroom in the cabin. He laid me down. The light from the lamp outlined his muscles like a living sculpture. I slowly removed his shirt. My hand ran over his chest as if savoring it. He removed my nightgown. I was naked, surrendered, but unafraid. Only desire. His eyes traveled down my body until they stopped at the little flower. He bit his lip, moved down, kissed my belly, my thighs. Then he licked me slowly, thirstily, truly. I whispered loudly. I arched. I gripped the sheet. His tongue knew me better than I knew myself. The little flower vibrated like music, and then I exploded. First small, then whole. I trembled so much, I had to hold myself back. He moved up, kissed me, with a taste of myself. Now you show me, he whispered. I laid him down gently, my mouth on his neck, his chest heaving. I moved down his abdomen, to his belt. When I released him, his stool pulsed. My little flower tightened. Just seeing it, imagining it. We connected slowly, but intensely. My headlights came on, the flower screamed. He held my waist, his eyes on mine. You're mine, his eyes said. And I was. The pace quickened. The whispers grew louder. The sound of the bed, of skin. I rode him hungrily. He turned me over, came on top, and there, he possessed me entirely. My body writhed. My legs trembled. When we exploded together, the world went silent. He fell beside me, sweaty, panting. This changes everything. It already has. The guilt, that would come later. I woke up with the sun beating down on my face. The bed smelled of him. Skin, sweat, wet flowers. I turned over. He wasn't there. Just a crumpled pillow and a heavy emptiness. I got up. My legs felt weak. My body still trembled where he touched me. In the mirror, messy hair, marked lips, sensitive headlights. I was marked. Inside, out, all over. Quick pause. If If the story is catching you too, leave a like, activate the bell, and subscribe to the channel. Now tell me, are you really enjoying it? And where are you listening from? What do you think will happen in the next chapter? What would you do if you were in my shoes? Comment below, I want to know. The lace petticoat forgotten on the polished floor and his linen pants resting on the armchair beside me, my body still sweaty, my skin sensitive, and my heart heavy with guilt. I walked to the porch of the big house. The sun, already high, outlined golden silhouettes, and the smell of roasted coffee drifted from the kitchen. He was there, old-fashioned, in a neatly ironed cotton shirt, his hat perched on his head, his gaze lost in the horizon, as if last night had never existed. When he saw me, he lifted his chin briefly. "Did you sleep well?" I nodded, even though I knew my body had barely known rest. I sat on the edge of the porch, my bare foot touching the sun-warmed wood. The flower between my legs, still alive, now tight with longing. "And now?" I said, almost in a whisper. He didn't look at me. He simply replied, "Now, you finish what you came here to do. Rest, heal yourself, go away." Each word was like a nail in the wood. It hurt, but it sounded fair. Because I didn't know what I wanted anymore either. Him? Or my peace? Are you going to pretend that was all it was? I'm not pretending. I'm trying to save what little remains inside me. Do you think this was a mistake? He took his time. The silence between my question and his answer was louder than any whisper from the night before. Do you think it wasn't? My throat tightened. My head spun, and even with my heart breaking, the little flower throbbed. What if I say I want you again? He looked at me, and in that look, I saw everything he would never say. I saw the desire, the fear, the guilt, the fire. But I also saw a wall. One he'd built inside. You didn't come here for me, but you ended up finding me. And now you need to go. He stood up with the empty mug. Before crossing the threshold of the house, he blurted, "Take care of yourself. We've already burned each other enough, friend." The words hurt more than any formal goodbye. I went in and cried in the bathroom. Silently. I let the cold water run over my skin, as if it could wash away his touch, his tongue, his fingers, but it didn't. He was already inside me, engraved. The rest of the day was empty. I leafed through old letters, wrote in my diary, ate without feeling hungry. But every corner of that house held a trace of him. The zipper on his vest, the muffled whisper, the fiery gaze, his way of possessing me as if it were the last night on earth. The night grew colder. The porch light was on, but he didn't come. There were no footsteps, no whispers, nothing. I hugged the pillow, still smelling of him, but my body begged for more. I woke in the middle of the night, panting. I dreamed of his hand between my thighs, his deep voice whispering secrets in my ear, his fingers exploring every inch of me. I got up. I opened the cottage door. Everything was asleep, except for the porch light. And there he was, sitting on the wooden bench, his shirt open, cigarette between his fingers. His gaze heavy with insomnia and longing. "Can't sleep?" I asked. "I'm trying." "Me too." He didn't say anything else, but his eyes called to me. When he said, "Come here," I went without thinking. I sat beside him. His shoulder brushed against mine. The scent of tobacco, earth, and desire enveloped me. "I tried to forget you today." "Me too. Did you succeed?" He turned his face, and for the first time that night, our eyes truly met. He kissed me, firmly, warmly, urgently. His hands gripped my waist, rising to cup my breasts, making me gasp. When he touched the little flower, I didn't need to say anything. My body moaned for me. "You drive me crazy," he whispered. "So stop running away." And right there, On the porch bench, I straddled him again. The stars watched. The world fell silent. Only the sound of our skin, of my flower pressed against him, of our whispers piercing the dawn. When the sun rose, it was still above him. The nightgown stuck to me, the skin pressed together, the heart beating in unison. He stroked my hair as if to say goodbye. "Are you leaving today?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "I am. My aunt is coming to pick me up after lunch." He nodded, but my body tightened, premature longing, a desire to stay, afraid of wanting more. I stood up slowly, my eyes puffy, my hair tangled. He looked at me as if he were keeping that moment in his memory. "What was that?" I asked, still leaning against the doorframe. He inhaled his unlit cigarette, looked out at the field, then back at me. It was everything and nothing. I went to my room. I showered, put on a light dress, tied up my hair. Every fold of clothes, a memory. The sheet from the first night, his shirt on the floor. Everything hurt. I went to the kitchen. I grabbed an apple, sat on the porch steps. He came in later, silent. His eyes were different, darker. "Will you remember me?" he asked. "I won't be able to forget." He knelt before me, cupping my face in his hands. "You turned me inside out. After you, I don't know who I am anymore. And I, after you, don't feel my body the way I used to." He kissed my forehead, then my mouth, then the little flower, with a look, with silence. The carriage stopped at the entrance. My aunt, real life. He carried my suitcase to the gate. We didn't say anything else, but everything was there between us. Inside the carriage, my aunt asked if I was better. A little, I lied, but I was a different person. I looked out the window. He was there, hat lowered, hands in his pockets. He smiled. That smile that has remained in my heart until today. Arriving home, I went straight to the shower. I stayed there, trying to understand who I was now. But deep down, I knew he remained in me, in my skin, in my memory, in my desire. And even today, when I close my eyes, I feel the zipper rising, his mouth opening me, his hands firm on my waist, and his voice saying, "You drive me crazy." And if I ever return to that estate, it will be for me, but also for him. Because there are people we don't forget. We just keep them inside, where the flower trembles just thinking about it. And if you've made it this far, tell me where you're watching from. It was a pleasure sharing this story with you. See you in the next video.